fellows remember getting down on one knee and asking that question, will you marry me? Maybe that was the most important question you've ever asked. Maybe there's another question that you've asked that's important too. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Important questions. In Matthew 16, verses 26, Jesus asks a very important question. He says, "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul?" And then he asks another very important question. "Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul?" What is the most important question you've ever asked? What's the most important question you've ever answered? For me, it was the question, do you believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, and do you take Him as your personal Savior? That's my most important question that I've ever answered. Maybe it's yours too. John Simone said this, "The key to wisdom is knowing all the right questions." The reason asking the right question is so important is because the kind of questions that you ask determine the kind of life you're going to lead. So you need to be asking yourself the right questions. The right question can trigger its own set of answers. And it can lead to certain emotions, which then lead to certain actions or inactions, followed by results. So the question you ask yourself can determine the results you see. Do any of you know any people that are really negative? They're always asking negative questions. They're always talking negative thoughts. Or do any of you know any people that are always positive? They're always asking the positive question. They're always thinking positively. See, there's a contrast there. So asking the right questions is pretty important because they can lead us down the right road, or if we ask the wrong question, we end up going down the wrong road sometimes. Don't ask yourself limiting questions because you're going to get limited results. Ask yourself mind-opening questions that are forward-thinking questions, because you'll gain a lot more out of answering those kinds of questions. Here are some important questions, and I'm sure you could probably come up with your own list, but I came up with 10. Who are you, and why are you here? Think about that one. What are you really passionate about? What are the achievements that you're most proud of? The accomplishments of your life. What are you most grateful for in your life? What are the most important things in your life right now? Are they the right things or the wrong things? How would you describe yourself? Is that description a description that you really are pleased about? Or do you need to work on that description a little bit more? What are your values? What's really important to you? What or who do you represent? What do you want to be remembered for? The last one. What one thing would you like to change about yourself? Those are all important questions. Questions that if you answer them, they're going to take you down the right road. We can gain a lot of wisdom by considering these questions, and you could come up with some yourself. But we're looking at two questions in Matthew 16:26 today, because these are important questions. The first question is, what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? That's a question we all should answer. What good is gaining the whole world if we lose our soul? The second question, it's in the same verse there, verse 26. What will a man give in exchange for his soul? You could probably answer the second question better than the first one, because we can see people who have exchanged their soul for a lot of different things. All the stuff they have in their garage, the boat they take to the lake, the automobiles they have. We could probably answer what we exchange our soul for easier than the first part. But I think these two questions call for us to make a shift in our lives. Let's look at a shift in our interests. We have to go back to the 21st verse of Matthew 16. It says, from that time on, Jesus began to show the disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and the cross. The disciples were seeing Jesus through human eyes. They did not understand this idea Jesus was talking about of being killed on a cross. Peter in particular was not going to let Jesus die on a cross. He was going to defend Jesus with a sword. Peter and the other disciples were just not on board with God's plan to save mankind yet. In fact, if you look at verse 23, Jesus calls Peter Satan. Okay? Now think about that. Here's the guy that's going to launch the church on the day of Pentecost. Here's the guy that Jesus is counting on to preach the first gospel sermon. Jesus is calling this same guy Satan. See, Peter was asking the wrong questions. Peter's interests were selfish. They were in saving Jesus and in keeping him from being killed. And the reason Jesus called Peter Satan was because he was becoming a stumbling block to what Jesus was planning to do, go to Jerusalem and be crucified. Peter's mind and thoughts were not on God's interest or about God's plan, but only about himself and his own interests. You know, he was looking out for number one. He realized, as far as the disciples go, he was probably the number one guy. He was probably the leader. Jesus' questions are asking us to make a shift in what we really think is important. You know, if you remember what Jesus did when he was calling the disciples, you know, he didn't make them fill out a questionnaire. He didn't make them fill out a resume, you know, and all that. He just said, follow me. And so you had to make a choice. You're going to follow him or not? You know, follow me. That's a question. That's an important question. Are we going to follow or not? We made the shift from being a child to an adult somewhere along the line. Some of us still do childish stuff even though we're adults. But somewhere along the line we made the shift from being a child to becoming an adult. We've made the decision and the choice to shift from being just simply a believer in Jesus to being a disciple of Jesus, a follower. one who obeys and keeps the commandments, rather than just reading them or memorizing them even. You see, anyone can believe. Jesus is not really looking for believers. He's looking for followers. He's looking for people who will pick up their cross and follow Him. And too many of us are just simply believers. We're not followers. We need to be followers. It's okay to be a believer if you're a follower. But if you're just a believer, not a follower, it's not going to do you much good. There's a point when we have to come face to face with our options and make choices. Answer questions. Is our life going to be about me, or is it going to be about Him? And one of the greatest things about 40 Days of Purpose that we did years ago was the fact that we learned it's not about us, it's about Him. And I think that's still true today, isn't it? It's not about us, it's still about Him. You see, there's still a narrow road and a wide road. And we have to choose which one we're going to travel. We can have the lust of the flesh, or we can have the fruit of the Spirit. We have to make a choice. We can choose evil, or we can choose good. Before we came to Jesus, we were strangers, aliens, citizens, or sinners. But after we became Christians, we became fellow citizens, brothers and sisters, members of the family of God. We need to remember that while we were still sinners, Christ demonstrated His love for us that He died on the cross. Romans 5:8. See, we are to be transformed from this world by the renewing of our minds. We are to think on things above and not on things on this earth, this world. There's a difference where our interests are. We need to make a shift in our interests to the things that are interesting to God. Am I going to pray when I have a need, or am I going to be a prayer warrior who has a regular prayer time? If you just pray when you have a need, if you don't have a regular time where you pray, something's wrong. You're a believer, not a follower. If you see a follower, you're going to take the time to be a prayer warrior and pray about things regularly all the time. Pray without ceasing. You ever heard that before? It's in here. 1 Thessalonians 5. You have to answer this question. Cliff will like this one. You've got to decide whether you're going to be a part-timer or a full-timer for the Lord. It's really that simple. Are you going to be a Christian who takes God out of the box just whenever you need Him, or are you going to have Him walk beside you all the time? Are you going to be on the sidelines, or are you going to be on the front lines? Is my commitment going to be whenever it's convenient? Or will my commitment be total and all in? Are you all in for Jesus? Or are you just all in for Him whenever it's convenient? Will I be a tipper or a tither? You see, we have to get rid of the I thinking and replace it with we thinking. We have to have a shift in our interest. It's not my interest, but it's in His interest. So we got to get Him in the picture. That's when it becomes we. When you and Jesus get together, it's we. It's no longer me. It's no longer my stuff, it's His stuff. So we have to have a shift in our interests. We've got to be thinking about the things of God. But we also need a shift in what we consider to be profit. Maybe you heard this story. It's about a pig and a chicken. They were walking past a church sign out front by the road, and it said, "Help us feed the hungry." Okay, nothing wrong with that. The chicken suggested to the pig that maybe they could help out by giving some ham and eggs. Well, the pig responded with not too favorable of a comment. He said, "Well, that's easy for you to say. Your part's just a contribution, but mine's a whole life and death commitment." We must count the cost of following and not following Jesus. What price would you put on your soul? That's the question Jesus is asking. What will it profit you? You gain the whole world but lose your soul. Or what can you exchange for your soul? What will you exchange for your soul? There's a lot of profit to be had in this world. You can win the lottery. You can strike gold. You can strike oil. You can marry into it. You can work hard and become successful like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Oprah Winfrey or Ted Turner or any number of other people who have done so. But we have to consider the cost of doing that. A report from the United Nations from 2000 showed that the total combined wealth of the entire world was $125.3 trillion. Remember that, $125.3 trillion. The average trade daily on the New York Stock Exchange is $1.2 trillion. So there's plenty of riches out there. There's plenty of profit to be made in this world. But Jesus still asks the question, what will it profit you? You gain the whole world, but you lose your soul. Jesus basically is saying that if you had all the profit of the whole world, whole $125.3 trillion, but you lost your soul, where would you be? His point was that if you are more worried about your profits than you are about following Him, then you probably aren't going to be following Him too long. Jesus said that even if you had all the profits in this world, it wouldn't be enough if you lost your soul. Because you can't buy your way in heaven. His point was that if you spend all your energy on profit, gaining profit, you lose your soul, you're going to be awfully upset when you stand before Him. It's not money that's the root of all kinds of evil, it's the love of money that's the root of all kinds of evil. So the Bible's not saying it's wrong to try to make a profit here and there. But when that's your priority, then it can be leading you into a lot of trouble. What will you give in exchange for your soul? Is there anything out there worth giving your soul for? I don't think so. Pick up Fox's Book of Martyrs sometimes. Read all the stories in there about these faithful guys and women who stayed faithful. Who weren't willing to exchange a denial for their faith. Nothing you can obtain in this world is worth more than your soul. What I'm saying is, you need to look at your soul as being the most valuable asset you have. And you must do whatever it takes to protect and guard your soul. Because it's the soul, your soul, that's going to be in heaven forever with the Lord. All the disciples but one became martyrs, we think. All but John. And we think he probably was supposed to have been a martyr. That's why he was shipped out to the Isle of Patmos. They figured he was old, he'd just die out there, but he didn't. But everybody else seems to have died one way or another as a martyr, giving up their life because of their faithfulness to God. So let's look back at this verse 26 again. If you look at that verse and you consider the context that it's in, starting back at verse 21, Jesus is asking all who would follow him to make a life-changing shift. Deny yourself or live for yourself. Take up your cross or ignore your cross. Follow Christ or follow the world. Take the narrow road or the wide one. Lose your life for Christ's sake or save your life for your own sake. Forsake the world or gain the world. Keep your soul or lose your soul. Those are the options. Share Christ's reward and glory in heaven, or lose his reward and glory in hell. The one with the most toys does not win in the end. What happens to all the toys when you die? Somebody else gets them. Give them to somebody else. Have you ever seen a U-Haul hooked up to the back of a hearse? Well, I think somebody heard that, and they did it one time, so it would debunk that statement, but I don't think you've seen that very often. I know you haven't seen it on the way to the cemetery, casket in the hearse. You see, you can't take that with you. A French mathematician and philosopher named Blaise Pascal put Christianity into a bit of a game for skeptics. He said this: if Christianity is wrong and you choose it, what have you lost? But if Christianity is right and you choose not to accept it, you have lost everything. That's what Matthew 16:26 is really talking about. I want to say that verse again. This is coming from the New Living Translation. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? There's the two questions again in the New Living Translation. All believers are called to be disciples who make a shift. It really counts. Count the cost, to be totally committed and sold out to Jesus Christ. Are you all in? I hope so. The cost to us is minimal in following Jesus, because he has already paid the price. And if you're following Jesus, then you're just kind of along for the ride. You let him do the driving. And if you do, he'll get you to heaven. If you're faithful, and you follow. Jesus is asking each and every one of us here today, what shall it profit a man, what shall it profit you, to gain the whole world, but lose your soul? We're going to sing an invitation. We're going to offer an opportunity for you to accept Christ as your Savior if you don't know him. We're offering an opportunity for you, if you know him, and you're fellowshipping with us here, to become one of us by joining this church. Or if you just simply need prayer, we want you to come as we stand and sing.